Hey, MariaFanelli here. Today I am so pleased to be with Dr. Susan Silberstein of the Center for Advancement in Cancer Education. And Dr. Silberstein has really been a force in cancer education since the 1970s. She's an international speaker. She's won numerous awards. She has many publications, books, and materials out there. And she has counseled tens of thousands of patients with cancer. So welcome. It's so nice to be here with you
Thank
today.
you, Maria. I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, yes, really. My pleasure. So I wanted to ask you, and maybe just give a little bit of background for our viewers, why you even started this center. I mean, you started it when you were fairly young, and you are
Yes.
still very passionate about this work. So what was it that drove you to start the Center for Advancement in Cancer Education?
Back in 1976, my young husband was diagnosed with a very rare cancer, and his prognosis was 12 months. And so while he was in the hospital having 7 neurosurgeries and the maximum chemo and radiation and treatments that his body could tolerate, I was in the medical libraries researching and calling all clinics and doctors all over the world. He died on schedule 12 months later because he never got out of the hospital long enough to try any of the wonderful resources that I had uncovered. He left me with 2 babies and, of course, a broken heart, but above all, a burning desire to make a difference. And I wanted to spare at least one family the terrible tragedy that ours had to endure. And so I decided I didn't want to bury with him everything I had learned, all that research. I wanted to have it available for the next person. And so I founded the nonprofit organization now known as beatcancer.org for our website. And since that time, we have counseled about 30,000 cancer patients worldwide, trained about 60,000 prevention seekers, and also provided continuing education to thousands of healthcare professionals. And I'm proud to say you're one of them.
Yes, I am. Excellent, excellent, excellent program. So what exactly is the Center for Advancement in Cancer Education? What's its mission?
We're a nonprofit, not a clinical facility, not a treatment facility, but an educational facility. And our mission is to reduce cancer suffering by providing research-based education on how to prevent, cope with, and beat cancer through diet, nutrition, lifestyle, and other immune-boosting approaches. So we help with nutritional support, psychological support, immune support. We provide resources for complementary, integrative, and alternative approaches. We help patients who are taking conventional therapy minimize the side effects of their treatments and become more successful than they might otherwise be. And we help patients who are not taking conventional therapy to find other resources that might be helpful to them. Above all, we provide hope and empowerment to patients and resources and referrals. And we help them design a holistic game plan that is protective of their precious resources of time, energy, money, geography, etc. And we even follow the limitations of their own belief systems.
Wow. So you work with patients not only in this area, but also around the country and even internationally.
That's correct. And we do it by telephone. Of course, we have a website where they can learn a lot of information, but our counseling is done by telephone on a donation basis. So if a patient cannot donate, we help them anyway.
Well, that's just so heartwarming. So this is just one area that I think beatcancer.org is very different than some of the organizations that are out there, because there's a lot of different types of organizations. And I know that, when someone gets a cancer diagnosis, it can just be, first of all, terrifying and also overwhelming because there's so much information out there.
That's true. When I got started, there wasn't any information. It was hard. There was no internet. I was in the medical libraries and on the telephone. Now today, there's information overload, and everybody's going to Dr. Google,
Yes.
which is a good and a bad thing. But to address your point about how we're different. So 3 fundamental ways. First of all, our prevention programs offer true prevention, not just awareness and early detection. Our programs for diagnosed patients focus on the patient, not just on the tumor.
Okay.
Building up the patient.
The whole person.
The whole person, not just on destroying the tumor. And finally, we raise money for education, not research. As we'll discuss, everything that we do is research-based. But so much has already been published. We don't feel we need to raise more money for that elusive search for the cure because, number 1, prevention is the cure. And number 2, we take what's already published in the medical literature and teach people how to apply that in their daily lives. So those are the 3 ways in which we're very different from the many valuable cancer nonprofits that are out there. But they are always well-known and well-endowed. We're the little guy that does so much.
But you have so much success too. And like I said, there's so much information. And I know even with my friends who have been diagnosed with cancer, of course, their families are sending them information and here's the one cure. And you really do have evidence-based treatments for people and plans. And that makes you very different. And some of this evidence goes back even decades.
That's true.
And a lot of it, unfortunately, isn't well known in a lot of the medical communities. So if someone is recently diagnosed, why would they want to turn to beatcancer.org more than any of these other organizations? Or why would it help them to go to beatcancer.org, maybe even first?
Well, that's highly individualized, right? It's up to the patient. But if patients are hearing a lot of conflicting and confusing information, especially about nutrition, we can help them sort that out. We can help them design a game plan that's not based on their diagnosis, but who they are.
Okay.
And what's going on in their lives and what their most pressing needs are. So we can help them sort out a lot of confusing information, and we really, really listen. So nothing we do is by protocol. We leave that to conventional oncology, right? Everything we do is personalized and individualized for each case, and it's quite independent of what their diagnosis is. Okay. There actually are no incurable cancers. There are some incurable patients, but there's no incurable cancers.
Wow, that sounds so promising right there.
We believe that to be the case.
So there is a lot of hope there, and you really help guide people through. And you bring up a good point, nutrition. So I just want to ask you this question because some people, even some physicians, particularly when friends of mine have asked questions, don't believe that nutrition or what you eat or your diet has any correlation to cancer. And they actually have told some of my friends, don't change your diet. It has nothing to do with it. Or maybe even don't change it because it might skew our chemo results. So does nutrition and diet and what you eat help fight cancer?
Oh, my goodness. I wish we had 5 days, right, to discuss this. Absolutely. First of all, we know that diet can help prevent cancer. We know that from the China Oxford Cornell Diet and Health Project. We know it from the report that came out in 2007 from the American Institute for Cancer Research and the World Cancer Research Fund on nutrition and cancer prevention, that plant-based diets, and there were over 7,000 studies that were reviewed by an independent panel of world-renowned scientists that collaborated on this report. Plant-based diets are what we need to do to prevent cancer, but they also concluded that the same diet is relevant for cancer survival. And the research goes back to, as you said, the 1970s. One of the landmark studies that was published in the journal Orthomolecular Nutrition talks about the fact that survival from diagnosed cancer can be up to 21 times as long among patients who were supported nutritionally as opposed to those who were not. So we have that study. We have studies from MD Anderson on ovarian cancer, quality of life, recurrence, and survival. We have studies from Stockholm, Sweden, on breast cancer patients, and it was recommended that every patient being treated for breast cancer receive an adjuvant nutritional support program. Dana-Farber Cancer Institute did a study on colon cancer survival and found that those patients who were eating a diet heavy in red meat and dairy and fat had 3 times the risk of recurrence or death from colon cancer as opposed to those who were not eating in that way. So there are many, many studies. University of Hawaii, lung cancer patients, those who ate the most vegetables had double the survival time of those who ate the least. Harvard University study on prostate cancer survival, and those that ate 30 grams of fat per day from red meat as opposed to 3 grams of fat had 250% greater recurrence and death.
Wow.
So, I mean, the research is there, and the research not only talks about survival, but specifically the mechanisms by which diet can affect cancer survival and quality of life and risk for recurrence.
Right. So what exactly is like a plant-based diet? And sometimes I hear like whole food, plant-based diet. What is that? Is that being a vegan? Like what, vegetarian? Like what's a plant-based diet? Just going to eat salads?
Yeah, I have a lot of patients that say, well, I don't want to be a rabbit, So, and there are vegetarians who are really only starchitarians, a Coke and a Danish qualify for vegetarian diet. So, but if you look at the literature, the research literature, you see over and over the recurrent themes of the specific foods that fight cancer and the specific foods that get us into cancer trouble and beverages, okay?
Okay.
So you want the good news or the bad news first?
Give us the bad news, because a lot of it, I think, even our American diet is based on stuff that people might think is healthy, but might not be.
Well, we'll do the bad news first, and then we'll talk about the good news. So, bad news, and by the time I'm done with this list, you will definitely conclude that there's nothing to eat. Trust me on that. But the bad news is, if we're looking at fats, a high-fat diet is definitely going to contribute to cancer and risk for recurrence and poor outcome, especially if that is a high omega-6 fat diet. So that's going to be prevalent in express concentrated oils like soybean oil and corn oil and cottonseed oil.
It's in a lot of foods, actually.
It's in a lot of foods, yeah. Your vegetable oils are loaded with that as a rule. So that's not going to be good, especially if those fats are heated. Okay. Then if you're looking at proteins, so we know about the red meat, vegetarians have about a 40% lower death rate from cancer as those who are eating a lot of red meat, especially if that meat is cured or processed or char-broiled, or heavily laden with hormone additives. So that's going to be a problem. But a lot of people don't realize that cow dairy is an equally dangerous partner in this animal protein promoting cancer promoting diet. So because cow dairy, that's the milk and ice cream and cheese especially, which is ubiquitous in the American diet, very often, and people say, oh yeah, but this is organic, so it doesn't have the added
I hear that it's grass-fed.
Or lactate, so it doesn't have the milk sugar. No, it's the milk protein that is probably the most carcinogenic ingredient we know of. The casein in particular, and insulin-like growth factors, very promotive of cancers like breast, prostate, and ovarian cancer, leukemia, and lymphoma. So that's a problem. Then we have the refined carbohydrates that promote high sugar levels and high insulin levels.
What are they?
And those foods absolutely feed cancer because sugar is cancer's favorite food.
So what's a refined carbohydrate, just so people know?
Well, we can think of it in terms of white sugar, white flour, white pasta, right? White potatoes, those kinds of things.
Breads, right?
Right, breads. Typical Americans adding 30 teaspoons of sugar a day to his or her diet.
And again, that's in a lot of foods too.
And that's in a lot of foods. And high fructose corn syrup is everywhere. So, again, and then we can add microwaving and we can add alcohol because the research on them is unbelievably powerful.
What happens with microwaves?
Well, microwaving changes the chemical bonding and molecular structure of every food and beverage it touches. So at worst, it's going to compromise nutritional value, and sometimes as much as 90%.
Wow, so it depletes the nutrients in the food?
Okay. But at best, it often creates immunosuppressive, mutagenic, and carcinogenic compounds. So you don't want to do a lot of microwaving, not even to heat food up, not even to microwave water. Okay. And then if you're doing alcohol, well, you got to go to beatcancer.org and type in alcohol in the search bar, and you will see all the different cancers, so many different cancers that alcohol promotes. We think of it as toxic to the liver, but, head and neck cancers and colon cancer and breast cancer. So you have to cut back on alcohol. So that's all the bad news. So you have to actually decide if you want to die of cancer or starvation, right? But the good news is that if you start introducing the foods and beverages that I'm about to recommend, then the bad stuff isn't going to harm you as much. And you will even crave less of the bad stuff as you start getting into good habits. And I even have menu planners that can help you make the transition, and recipe books and things like that. But what are we looking for? Well, in a nutshell, we're looking for 9 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables a day.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Most people I know, they'll tell me, well, I had some broccoli this week.
Yeah, and if it was microwaved, you basically are getting no points for that. But yeah, so 9 to 13 servings, it's quite doable. And we want the vegetables to the fruits in a ratio of about 3 to 1.
Okay, so more vegetables than fruits.
In terms of volume, right. So that's the simple solution. But if you want to get into more specifics, then you need to look at the carotenes, which give fruits and vegetables their bright colors, and what they can do for the immune system and protecting against DNA damage through their antioxidant effects. You want to look at the cruciferous family, right? The cabbage family, and as you mentioned, broccoli and kale and collard greens and Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower, and they have phytonutrients or plant-based nutrients that can support our liver systems, and they can detoxify carcinogenic hormones and chemicals. So very protective against cancer. Then you want to look at berries, which are extremely effective in some really tough cancers, or tough by conventional standards, like triple negative breast cancer and brain tumors and liver cancer and things like that. Then you want to look at flax seeds. Wonderful research on fresh ground flax seeds and what that can do to not only protect against breast and prostate cancer, but actually slow down and reverse growth. Great research at Duke University, University of Toronto, MD Anderson. Really good research on flax seeds.
It's so easy. And then I've heard conflicting things with flax seeds. No, you shouldn't have flax seeds, because it's promoting estrogen. And you're saying, have flax seeds.
Well, and that's the kind of thing we do for patients. We help them sort it out. We don't say, don't listen to anyone else, just listen to us. We help them understand why people are saying conflicting things and what the evidence really supports.
Because you have the science and evidence behind it.
So what the evidence supports is that there are weak plant sources of estrogen, what we call phytoestrogens, that actually antagonize the more aggressive estrogens. And they actually help the body balance out its estrogen in a safe, effective way. And the meta-analysis of 18 different breast cancer studies was looking at phytoestrogens, primarily in soy, and did not find increased risk of breast cancer. So soybeans are another issue, and it's very controversial. We help people sort that out as well. Green tea, some green tea is just a nice beverage. Some green tea is a phenomenal therapeutic anti-cancer beverage, and we help people know about those resources. You can find that on our website at beatcancer.org if you type in green tea. And so those are some of the foods. Garlic. Dr. Richard Béliveau, who's a world-renowned biochemist up in Canada, he researched foods against human cancer cells growing in test tubes or petri dishes, and he found very specific foods that can halt the growth of those cancers up to 100%.
Wow.
And garlic was always at the top of the list, primarily because of what it does for natural killer cell counts and natural killer cell activity.
So it keeps away the vampires and it keeps away the cancer cells.
There you go.
Good.
Yes, yes. So there are a lot of foods that we actually, and beverages, that can play a role, and small changes will produce very big results.
Oh, okay.
We want a high fiber diet, and typically we're getting that not only from fresh fruits and vegetables, but the whole grains and seeds and nuts and beans and legumes, and they can play a very big role in helping to antagonize cancer, not only colon cancer, but breast cancer and lymphomas and prostate cancers, because of the way the fiber binds up and escorts out the circulating hormones and carcinogens. And omega-3 rich fatty acids, which we know are in wild fish, and of course the flax seeds and wild game and sea veggies and free-roaming hens and their eggs and raw walnuts and raw pumpkin seeds. Those omega-3 fatty acids, chia seeds, flax seeds, so they are phenomenal for supporting our immune system, whereas the omega-6s tend to tear down the immune system.
I see.
So we need all kinds of fatty acids, but we need them in the proper ratios, and typical American diet is way too high in omega-6s and typically low in omega-3s.
And that's what's causing a lot of the issues, I think, because there is such an imbalance with the food we're eating.
Yeah. And if we heat those omega-6 oils, oh my goodness, then we are creating carcinogenic chemicals at levels 200 times what the World Health Organization considers as safe.
Well, and so many foods are fried, or we're, you know, putting oil in our pans at home and cooking food, so we have a lot of this heated oil.
So what I suggest, because people can find this totally overwhelming, right?
Yes.
And, you know, all the things you have to give up and all the things you have to include.
It sounds impossible sometimes, but
you know what?
It's not, right?
No, it isn't. First of all, you make one change at a time, and I don't care which one it is, because I'm going to teach you what I know, what the science says, and you're going to make a choice. So one change at a time, master that, then go into the next change. And that may take many days, weeks, or even months. But every step you take towards a healthier diet is one step you're taking away from cancer running your life.
So it's a process, and you're starting to add the healthy foods. What about water? Is water significant at all? I mean, some people I know don't even drink water.
Oh, and I'm glad you brought that up, because water is crucial. Water is absolutely crucial. So first of all, we need to drink at least half our weight in ounces of water per day.
Half our weight?
Yes.
Wow,
now,
that's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water. But if you are sick, or you're on medication, or you're on radiation or chemotherapy, now you need more water. Okay? So that's very important. Then some of that water I prefer, first of all, I want it as pure as possible.
Okay.
And if you just type in water on the beatcancer.org site, you'll see some articles about that and some water treatment systems that are very affordable.
Okay.
And then some water I like to be alkaline. And you can buy that in your local stores, your health food stores, your supermarkets. You can make your own for a very reasonable price. And don't do that in between meals. I mean, only do that in between meals, not at mealtime. But alkaline water can help the body maintain homeostasis, which is necessary for healing.
Great. So you're really talking about getting in a lot of nutrients and really decreasing the toxins in our body.
Yes, and there are many ways to do that. Water is just one way to do that.
Okay, great. Any, just if you could just summarize like some of the top tips you have for what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat. You went over so much.
Yeah.
Like maybe like 3 things, like stay away from this and this is what would help you to eat more of.
Okay. Stay away from cow dairy.
Okay.
And stay away from sugar.
Okay.
Those are my top 2. Okay. On the other hand, have some good quality protein like eggs or wild fish.
Okay.
And a ton of fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
That's doable, right?
That's totally doable.
Yeah.
So I know it does get overwhelming for people, and I think, you really ease people into it. You're even saying it's a process. Mm-hmm. But so you've written so many materials, and what you did do for people is you came out with these 2 great recipe books, Hungry for Health and Hungrier for Health, that can really make it easy for people, and you have delicious recipes in here. I know I've eaten many of them. I've cooked many of them. So can you tell us a little bit about these books?
Sure. So Hungry for Health is heavily plant-based, but not totally vegetarian. It has no junk sugar and no red meat and no cow dairy, but it still has some fish and some fowl. It has lots of desserts, and the desserts in my books are better for you than if you didn't eat dessert at all. Okay, and a little goat cheese, right? So, and it has 4 fundamental principles of healthy eating in the introduction. Hungrier for Health, that is totally vegan. So the introduction includes 4 advanced principles of healthy eating. Don't start with that. Start with the other one first. All the recipes in both books are different. They are gluten-free, and they follow 3 key principles. Number 1, they have to be really, really healthy. Number 2, they have to be really simple to prepare with simple to find ingredients. And number 3, they have to really taste great, because if you're not going to like them, you're not going to do them. So, and they run the gamut, not just with salads, of course.
No, they do taste great.
Appetizers and snacks and soups and salad dressings and main courses and sides and desserts and smoothies and juices. There's something for everyone. And I just came out with my Hungry for Health meal planner to help people get a 4-course plant-based meal on the table in 15 minutes, no microwave. The whole idea with this planner is it's based on the recipes in my recipe books, and it will help people change their dietary habits in 12 weeks. Really, it's simple. It's got 8 weeks of dinners planned for you, and then I have a whole set of principles and rules to help you set up your own menus going forward. So you really have no excuse.
Right.
You can do this. I want to make it easy for you. Whether you're looking to prevent cancer or prevent recurrence of cancer or support yourself during, after treatment, or even instead of treatment.
Wonderful. Well, I like the fact that you make it so easy for people. So you have this process, you have the meal planner. I love that your recipes are so simple and easy to make, and you're saying that they could even make them in less than 15 minutes, maybe, several of them or a lot of them.
Most of them, yes. I mean, if you're going to want to make a big stew or a soup, I suggest you make that over the weekend. But with the planner, and that, you just tear a page off, put it on your fridge. It looks exactly what my fridge has looked like for over 30 years. I'm still planning, okay? But that's how I do it. Because you just come in after work, tired, treatment, whatever you're coming in from. You've got a family that's hungry, you're hungry, everybody's exhausted. And it's, well, what can I pull out of the freezer and nuke, right? Or let's just order pizza.
That's right.
I understand the need for easy.
That's right.
I'm coming in from work too.
That's right.
But if you plan, it's doable, and you will have so much more energy.
Well, it sounds like this just makes it easy for people too, rather than thinking about what am I going to eat later? I don't have any food now. I'm too tired. And then you're right, they resort to takeout. They resort to pizza. So in this way, you already know what you're going to have later.
You do, and you've got your shopping list, so to make sure that your ingredients are there for you.
That is just fantastic. Yeah. So you do so much at beatcancer.org, right? How can people easily access some of this? You have counseling, which you talked about before.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, we have the telephone coaching, as I said. So people can go to the beatcancer.org website.
Okay.
They can sign up for our free e-newsletter.
Great.
They can request to be put in touch with a cancer counselor. And they can read hundreds of articles on our blog site. They can go to take some of our e-courses. We have some wonderful e-courses, including the one that you took.
I know, that's fantastic.
And then we also have our e-store. So some of the books that we've got.
Right. There's so many here, so many publications. I'll put some of these up at the end of our video here.
So we have recording. Some people like to read. Some would rather watch a video. Some would like to listen in their car to a CD. So we have those kinds of things. We have some downloadable. And people can get information that way. So there are lots of ways that people can reach us through our website and learn more. They can also call us toll-free, 888-551-2223. And they can email us at support@beatcancer.org.
Oh, just incredible. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with our viewers today? I mean, we really talked about a lot.
Well, we did. We did. Well, you know what? People may not realize, because as you said, when we started, people are terrified as soon as they, and you know why? Because cancer patients don't typically die from their cancers. They die of malnutrition, toxemia, and or opportunistic infections. And of course, nutrition can address all of that. But they're not really dying from their cancer. They're dying more from their treatment. And that terrifies people. So what I'd like people to remember is there's the word can in cancer. And after all, cancer is just a word. It's not a sentence.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for being here today. This is so valuable. I just thank you again for taking your time to share this with people.
Thank you for inviting me. The more people that know about the work that we do, the more people we can touch in so many ways. And we only talked about nutrition basically today, but the mindfulness work that you do is equally valuable for cancer patients. I often say, is it what you're eating or is it what's eating you? So that's equally as important.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. And I'm very passionate about the mindfulness piece and stress management and also mind-body health. And your organization, I just think is amazing. I mean, you've been doing this for so many years now. You've really, like I said, been a force out there. So the organization's amazing. You're amazing. You've made such a positive impact. And not only like tens of thousands of people's lives, but there's even been a ripple effect with that. So really, just thank you so much for all the work that you're continuing to do.
Thanks for helping us get it out there.
Oh, you're welcome. So if you'd like more videos like this, tips and education on mindfulness, stress management, mind-body health, please tune into my website at www.MariaFanelli.com. Thank you so much for being here today. Take care now. Bye-bye.